I was in the field of UFOs when it was infiltrated and a lot of people died. And some entities, human, tried to take me out twice, and I survived. And when I was surviving in a cabin in the woods, scared to death of being hurt again, somebody brought me a bottle of EVO in a sloppy bottle, and but they said, try it, it's so good. And then another hippie guy gave me a sample, like months later at some weird festival for wizards in Colorado. And so I had these two bottles, and both of them came from Chris's lab.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspired conversation. If you are on social media, if you are following what's happening in this new administration, you might have seen a little clip of our new health secretary, Bobby Kennedy Jr. We're going to play that in a minute for you because it caught people's attention. It was very strange what he was doing in that clip. But to talk about this with me and about our health and well-being in a greater sense, we invited our dear friends back on, Patty Greer and Chris Burres from C60 EVO. It's good to see you, friends.
Hello, John.
Hey, great to see you.
Great to see you all. Thank you for joining us again today. I think we should play the clip and look at something that was very weird, happened recently on a plane. Bobby Kennedy Jr. did this. When I saw the clip, friends, I wondered, was this a signal? Was this put out on purpose? Because it looked a little staged to me. But Chris, maybe, you could give us a little bit of an overview. What are we seeing in this clip? What is he putting in his glass?
Yeah, so what we think he's putting in, right? I think I'm with you. Nothing's really been confirmed, but it looks pretty clear that he's actually adding a thing called methylene blue to his apparent. I think it's what looks like water or whatever it is that he's drinking. And so methylene blue is kind of in the biohacking. So I go to a lot of conferences. I have a lot of conversations with people at conferences, and methylene blue is certainly one of these things on the top. I can tell you at one particular conference, the conference had wrapped up. There was probably a group of 5 biohackers standing around, and all of them, except for me, because I wasn't, trying methylene blue at the time, but all of them had these like deep blue tongues and were kind of excited about what methylene blue, the impression that they were sharing is that it gives kind of increased cognitive ability, kind of an increased focus. And so, yeah, certainly in biohacking communities, this is a big deal.
I'll be honest with you. A few years ago, that was the first time I heard about methylene blue in a context that wasn't known at the time. People that had taken a certain medical intervention that was sort of pushed out on the people were using it for improvement and detox purposes and whatnot. And so we tried it ourselves, not because we needed it for the detox, just tried it ourselves. And, I probably personally, I can't say that I had that I noticed huge things, but I saw it in relatives who had taken that medical intervention. They had some positive effects from it. Do you have any personal experience?
Yeah, well, I actually have a bottle right here. Hopefully that doesn't surprise you. I'm kind of traveling in these biohacking circles, and so I've been using it. I use about 5 drops in my kind of lunch, whatever I'm drinking for lunch, which tends to be just sparkling water and some creatine. By the way, creatine is something that I would highly recommend. That should be on everybody's radar in terms of, like, if you're thinking about core 1 supplementation, creatine should be there. So I'm adding it to that. My personal experience is I don't really notice a difference, right? So I'm probably going to finish up this bottle and then I'll be done. But I think that's probably because of they tend. Our understanding is that they tend to operate in kind of the same area, right, as ESS60s, right? So because I'm taking ESS60 on a regular basis, I'm really not noticing with the methylene blue. Now, I know some other people who are taking ESS60 and they swear by both of them. There is some concepts that they might be having synergistic effects inside the mitochondria, which is, a fancy biological way to say like they might both be good for you and they might not be, they might be doing different things. And so therefore they're both good for you. But at this point, my experience is I enjoy it. I think it's safe enough for us to be playing around with. I just haven't noticed anything.
I have a question. It reminds me of colloidal silver. Are they related?
I don't understand the mechanisms of action of colloidal silver. I haven't done a deep dive with colloidal silver. I don't, but on surface, I don't think those are the same mechanisms. One thing that I will kind of add as you're thinking about this, if you take too much colloidal silver, you will actually turn blue. Maybe people have seen the picture of the Smurf dude. But understand, he was taking massive quantities of colloidal silver. It wasn't just like, a couple of drops and I've been doing it for 5 years and I became a Smurf. No, it was massive quantities, right? And kind of the rumorings, again, I haven't dug into the science, but what people talk about colloidal silver is its ability to impair viruses, to impair bacteria, and to have these protective effects. You may have also seen, certainly on my feed, right, because the algorithm is geared towards me, I've certainly seen brains of people taking methylene blue and their brains are blue, right? Now, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. Like, I don't think that means that it's damaging, but it'll make you nervous. It'll make you a little bit nervous.
Ew. I'm sorry. I don't want a blue tongue. I don't want a blue face. When I can do a spoonful of this in the morning and feel fabulous and not get sick, which is what happens for me, my joints move, my brain is sharp. I scare myself. My brain is so on fire taking this every day, and I don't want blue skin. So thank you for explaining all that, because I was curious too. And I have colloidal silver in the bathroom. Might have mold on it. I mean, I was not.
Well,
yeah.
It probably won't have mold on it because colloidal silver tends to kind of impair viruses, molds, bacteria, right? Like that's one of the claims.
That's part of the reason why people take it is because it's supposed to kill bacteria, right? Or so you put it in the water. But so I take it, Miss Patty, you haven't tried the methylene blue.
No, but I did try the colloidal silver, and for some reason they feel related, and the reason is it turns your tongue colors, turns your skin colors if you take too much. And I could drink this whole bottle and I'd probably just go to the bathroom more. Like, it's not going to turn my body strange colors, stripes, patterns. But again, I like simple now. I'm older. I'm a little smarter than I used to be by far. And my brain is scary unstoppable. Yesterday, Chris doesn't even know, I finally did a major photo shoot with a full camera situation here, all these ads for C60 EVO. And we went 4 hours and it was like, oh my God, it's 5. I've got a show at 6. We got to cut, but we had just finished the last product. And I thought, how am I going to do this? And I didn't take anything because I did EVO. And up to the last shot that we did, he said, man, you're just on fire. And then I did a show with Wrist Flex, 2 hours. And I was on fire. And so by the end of it, she says, God, you've got so much energy. And I said, I just finished a 4-hour photo shoot right before the show. So the product for me is scary good. And that's why I sell it. I so believe in it because it works for me. But today I called my daughter and I said, oh God, we had the sweetest testimonial from Red Pill 78. Zach lost his cat, which is so sad, but he was 20. A C60 EVO cat was 20. And my daughter said to me, Zumo's 20. And I said, no way. Are you kidding? She said, not only is my cat 20 and I never want to lose him, but yeah, we give him a few drops of EVO every day. But my hamster, I think he's coming to the end of his life. We got kids, little grandkids. And she said, so I actually took the EVO and I put the dropper near his mouth and he grabbed it with both of his hands and the hamster started sucking on the thing. So if it flies across the living room, please let me know before 12:30 when I film, because I'm curious if the hamster that grabbed it, and she said it did it 2 days in a row, just grabbed the tube, and it was the cat formula that has salmon essence. So if you have issues with your hamsters, or any rodents, you can give them the Evo for cats. They absolutely love it. So that's the pet testimonials I heard an hour ago.
I haven't heard that one before. So, for hamsters, Chris, what I wanted to ask you is you've been with this miracle molecule since the beginning, almost, with the C60 molecule that later you guys, refined into the ESS60. It isn't often that a molecule is discovered and used, for industry, and then it turns out to be something that is highly beneficial for humans. Can you talk about that transition period? Who came up with the idea of trying it for humans? How did you all, notice it would have these benefits that it's having?
Like all kind of serendipitous discoveries, it really was going down what was considered the opposite path, right? So for various reasons, and we'll just kind of briefly, here's a model of the molecule. If you're listening, imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. You have a spherical molecule that looks like a soccer ball, and when we consume it by humans or pets, we actually call that ESS60. But the molecules discovered, that's got 60 carbon atoms, called carbon 60, discovered in 85. The three scientists who discovered it won the Nobel Prize in 96. And it does amazing things in industrial applications. And at one point, they thought we as humans would be working with this molecule on a regular basis. And they also thought, because of some of the shapes, or one particular shape on the exterior of this soccer ball shaped molecule is reminiscent of benzene, they thought because of that, it would be toxic. So it was going down this path of, let's understand how toxic it is, because if we're going to be working with it on a daily basis, we need to have guidelines by how much you can work with, how much you could inhale, how much you could be exposed to. So it was going down that path. They put it in this toxicity study. In that study, they gave Wistar rats, in this case. One group was given water, that's the control group. One group was given olive oil, kind of a semi-control group. And then one was given olive oil with the ESS60 molecule. Instead of being toxic, the test subjects, again, Wistar rats, lived 90% longer than the control group. So now that is the study that kind of shoved this molecule into the health space. And so now we're kind of digging in deep, understanding the science behind it, getting this to as many people as possible, and really kind of reaping the benefits of amazing testimonials that people share with us, just like Patty just shared related to pets. And by the way, one of the things I love about pets is this is brand new, right? So you should be thinking, some of this is placebo effect, because by the way, placebo effect affects everything. It affects the statins that you take. It affects the antibiotics that you take. It affects everything. And you should be thinking about that. But when it comes to pets, there is no placebo effect. So when they, in this case, live to 20, which is an extended life for a cat, that's not placebo effect. That's just because that's how they feel.
So run me through that moment. When was it for you that you thought, okay, here's a study, 90% longer, no tumors when they die. That's pretty amazing. I wonder, was that, what was the light bulb that went off for you? What happened there? Because I love these stories because they're inspirational to me, because now all these years later, we're using this to improve our health, improve our focus, improve our sleep and all that. What was the light bulb moment? When did that happen? Where were you? Do you remember?
Yeah. I don't remember like the specific place. I remember that there was a conversation with my business partner, Robert. I'll tell you, there are two places that I wish I was like a lot smarter, right? One, hey, to decide and understand that this was going to have health benefits and then to throw it down that path. And then two, to see that study and jump on it much earlier in terms of turning it into a health supplement that's on the market. I was not that smart in either one of those situations. In fact, here's the fun story. That study comes out in 2012. We started getting phone calls in mid 2013 of people asking us, how much should they be consuming? And in our minds, we were selling this molecule to research institutions around the world to put into ink, batteries, tires, and photocells. So the question that we were hearing, right? Yeah, you guys got it. But the question we were hearing is, hey, Chris, how much of that stuff that you sell to research institutions around the world to put into inks, batteries, tires, and photocells, how much of that should we be consuming? So in mid 2013, our lab put not for human consumption on the labeling because we thought you should be consuming zero. Like this is the conservative nanomaterial scientist. The literature was clear. It was safe. In fact, more than safe, a 90% extension of life, but we were just conservative scientists. And then kind of your question is like, when did the light really switch? Well, actually, my business partner and I, every quarter, we're getting together and going, do we want to get into the supplement market? And we were like, no, we don't really want to. Selling commercial quantities of carbon nanomaterials to research institutions around the world is very different than selling a supplement, right? They actually test what we ship them. People who get supplements don't test what we ship them, right? Like there's no accountability. And I think it's fair to call the supplement industry challenge. In fact, I found during this kind of time period between 2013 and the latter part of 2017, when we really did decide to bring it to market, I found a peer-reviewed published research paper that said 50% of the supplements on the market that they had purchased did not have in them what they said they had in them, right? This was an industry I was not interested in going, yeah, you're nodding your head because they're like, you kind of have that feeling, but you hope it's not that way.
No, actually, that's why we are so incredibly picky about what we put into our bodies. We don't believe the hype. We try, we test, we study, we have things tested, and we have people that have labs that test things. So we're very, very on this. And I would say that's just intuitively 80% of the supplement industry is probably neglectable, and 20% probably is really, really good and maybe even undervalued. I'd kind of put it in that arena. But Miss Patty, when was it for you? Because you were in the consumer shoes, right? You were in the same shoes as all of us. How did you discover the Evo, and what I know your story, but when was the moment where you realized, wow, this is different?
First spoonful. Very first spoonful. I stood up and went, what? Yeah, it was shocking to me. And I was a non-believer because I was in the field of UFOs when it was infiltrated and a lot of people died. And some entities, human, tried to take me out twice. And I survived. And when I was surviving in a cabin in the woods, scared to death of being hurt again, somebody brought me a bottle of Evo in a sloppy bottle. And but they said, try it, it's so good. And then another hippie guy gave me a sample like months later at some weird festival for wizards in Colorado. And so I had these two bottles, and both of them came from Chris's lab, the raw product, but the oils came from Costco. And they were mixed in hippie basements with the Amazon stirring machine, and I think they still are today. But they were selling industrial, not ESS 60. And that even got me going. But the ESS 60 is what I would definitely choose for my body now that I know better. Because again, it's like buying products with solvents. Fine for tires and batteries, but not for me or my pets. So the first spoonful was shocking. And I actually started a company back then because I was so blown away, but it wasn't a real company because they didn't know what they were doing. And I did meet Chris. And when he realized you're the girl with a big mouth making us 10 calls a day instead of one a week, who are you? Let's talk. And after an hour, he said, we're going to send you an NDA. We're going to fly you down here. And I was gung-ho. So to do it the right way with ESS 60, which they had created at the lab, was such a compliment to me after going through what I did. And also seeing kind of the C60 industry in Colorado. They're using charcoal and calling it C60. And they're using industrial from Wuhan, China, and calling it excellent. And when I go to the false C60 reviews, I've never seen an ESS 60 review on social media, but they're doing a lot of C60. They won't talk to us. I've written them, would you like a sample? They're promoting like deep state trash. Bear with me. Once in a while, they have a good company and they'll give it a B or B minus. They do the lab once in a while just to look valid, but there's so much misinformation, and I'm not the fact checker that got me again today on Facebook now that I'm back. Man, it's war. It is absolute suppression war. And when I was in ufology, that's what happened, was they wanted to suppress what I knew about UFOs. And it wasn't UFOs. For me, it was crop circles. But I got so wounded that I had given up on even healing. It was so painful. And when I took the first spoonful of this, it changed. And then I took a tablespoon every day and I started walking again. And I had been dropped at an airport with a directed energy weapon, and my hips must have shattered. I don't know how I got home. I vaguely remember. It was just awful. But here I am, a total survivor, and I co-own the company with the lab. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And now that I'm in a really happy mood, I want to brag that we've sent Bobby Kennedy Jr. 3 collection sets of our products. And I've got a bag of Maha hats. I've also got a half a dozen, John, if you want one. I doubt Chris does, but Bobby Kennedy for 2024, when he was running for president, they gave me those hats also. My friends are backstage with Bobby. They toured with him when he was running. And now I'm being gifted because we've given him products. So I really would like to hear about a flight where he's pouring C60 EVO in a spoon and taking it and going, now we're talking. And I don't know if you and Chris saw what I sent you right before the show, but last night on my 2-hour show with Riz Flex, we had a message from what looked like Alex Jones. It said Alex Jones, and the statement was, this is one of the best products in ever, or whatever. I sent it to you. You might pop it up if you want, but I'd like to know if that's the real Alex Jones. And if it is, dude, let me send you a big bottle. Okay, Alex, if you're listening, big bottle coming your way, size of my head. Let's talk.
Chris, I got to ask you something, because you were, before you connected with Patty, I know you were in, you were in the lab. You are improving things, developing things. You're dipping your toes into whether you're gonna go into the supplement industry, and then you meet Miss Patty Greer, a true original. Ufology, crop circles, conspiracies, a lot of which have turned out to be true, by the way. How was that for you? Because I think it's this combination and this partnership is sort of the most authentic thing that can happen. Somebody who has felt the benefits of the actual substance and then believes in it so much that they want to go into business about it. That's wonderful. But how was it for you to enter all these spheres and be connected to people like us?
I think you may know the answer to that one, actually. It is very interesting, right? I am a very open person, and because things don't land well with me, there's lots of things like, hey, if that works and that works for you, you should keep doing that. Like I'm not I'm not going to run around and poo-poo ideas that are working for people because I don't understand the science behind it, right? Like that's the thing. My limitations shouldn't stop other people. And so yeah, Patty is my wacky business partner. And we have very interesting conversations and very different points of views. But when you back down and you get to the core, right? Patty and I have the same fundamental desire, which is this is an amazing product. We have felt the experience of this amazing product, and we want to get this amazing product into the hands of as many people as possible. And so whatever she may have a view that I don't agree with, I'm sure I have a views that she doesn't agree with. The thing that we agree on is, how do we get this message? How do we share this research? How do we share this product with as many people as possible? And so we couldn't be more in tuned in that regard.
I want to be the third in this agreement and say that I agree with that. I think it's also the emergence of a new way of thinking where quality, authenticity, integrity are at the top rank, and where it should be a win-win-win for everyone. It's not just profits. It's not just all of that, which I think, we've seen where that has led us. And I think it's a beautiful thing that a new kind of economy is emerging where that is at the center, and a win-win-win is sort of the result of it. The people who use it win, the people who produce it win, everybody wins, which is wonderful. Who is this for, Chris? Because we're talking about, but who benefits the most from a shot or a glass or a spoonful of Evo in the morning or during the day?
Well, you can imagine, right? So we get all sorts of testimonials from people who are relatively healthy saying, I feel it, I'm sleeping better. Okay, great. But and those are nice to hear. You want to continue to hear those, but those aren't the ones that really move you, right? Like Patty saying after the second dose that now she's walking again, and talking about her experience of having hip replacements and being up and actually on a show within weeks, right? Which is most
5
people are
days.
5, yeah, that's within weeks, but 5 days is more appropriate, right? Within 5 days, like so it turns out that people who are struggling the most with things, and I'll share this, right? So the FDA doesn't allow us to talk about inflammation, and I actually think it's the right decision, because then everybody would be talking about inflammation, and like that's not a healthy place for supplements or even medications. But what the FDA considers is that if you're talking about inflammation, you are literally talking about the diseases of inflammation, which are also the diseases of aging. So arthritis, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, cancer. So if we say that we solve inflammation, the FDA hears we cure cancer, arthritis, cardiovascular disease, right? Which is clearly not what we're saying. When it comes to inflammation, what we can say is that we address inflammation, acute inflammation, that inflammation that occurs from, say, tough exercise is a good example, right? So you have a tough workout, or you just walk longer than you normally do, and you wake up and you feel that inflammation in your body. We absolutely address that. Again, we have a lot more research to talk about the more general inflammation, but I'm excited to share. We had a doctor that I had a conversation with at a very recent event. It's called A4M, American Academy of Anti-Aging Longevity Fest. So I'm at this event, hanging out with biohackers. Some of them, I'm sure, were taking Methylene Blue. And I'm having this conversation with this Dr. Young, and he said, Chris, I don't care if you're male, female, pre-surgery, post-surgery, cardiovascular disease, cancer, your product reduces hsCRP dramatically in 4 to 6 weeks. Now, hsCRP stands for high sensitivity C-reactive protein. That is a protein marker that is elevated in people who are in inflamed states. If you have cancer, you have an elevated hsCRP. If you have cardiovascular disease, you have an elevated hsCRP. So we can't talk causal, but we can talk this marker that is really important as it relates to these diseases of inflammation. It goes down when people take our product. And well, at least this doctor says that. We're working on an ad hoc study first, and then we'll be doing, we have the goal in the current plan is to do a peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-controlled study on humans as soon as we get some confirmation of where we're sitting.
Fantastic. So this is upcoming. I also kind of, it's kind of strange to hear you have to jump through all the hoops to say something that's actually quite simple, but say it in a way that it is FDA compliant. There is, there's a shared hope here that some of the improvements under Bobby Kennedy as a secretary will be that there will be a sort of a more openness about what can be shared, specifically when you have not just anecdotal but measurable results in people who take it, right? So that, I think, should be allowed, that you can say 100 people who took our product experienced this effect. The things that we talk about is clarity, sharper focus, the brain, and better sleep. And I literally just had a friend of our daughter's who didn't feel good, felt like she couldn't recover after workout, very young and sort of just not good, and just gave her a bottle of the capsules, and within 2 days it's becoming better. So that's excitement. Miss Patty, where can people find the wonderful C60 EVO products, from the skincare to the cat formula, and how can they save while they shop?
I want to tell you, but I did want to give a coincidental testimonial. So first I'll say c60evo.com/inspired channel. And if you go to the link below, you're going to be offered 10% discount with his secret code. Plus, if you sign up for a monthly subscription, you can get 20% off every month. We encourage everybody to start that way, even if you don't want it. Start that way, get your discount and his discount, And then if you need to cancel the next day or a month later, feel free. But most people don't once they try the product. If you buy the dog lover set or the cat lover set, which is 2 items, you'll get one for you and one for your pet. It's 15% off each item. So we take that discount on anything that's 2 items and more. And we have a whole page of collection sets, from adding the lip balm, the capsules, the oils. We have so many products that they want to tap the link below. And if you see the store and you find things that you want, at the very bottom of his link, it says see the whole store or see more. Please go there, because we have all kinds of deals. And if you buy 2 bottles of something, we will always offer you a third for half price. It just goes on and on. So go to the website in the link below and you'll see all kinds of offers. So that's what I want to encourage people to do. But we can't say the inflam word. It's true. But I am, another reason that Chris and Robert work with me is because I'm a walking testimonial. Luckily, I'm not a vacuum to bad people or a magnet to bad people anymore, because I'm not in ufology. Oh God, I'm doing coast to coast radio on crop circles on Sunday night. Just saying. A little comeback. And last night with Riz Flex, I thought we were done in 40 minutes. And she says, let's talk crop circles. So we were done 2 hours later. And that's when Alex Jones said something. And I'm like, come on, guys, like, what's going on? But I've been trying to not talk about crop circles. And then Coast to Coast invited me. So I'm going to be doing my homework on it, which is just watching my 2 movies, the last 2, and I'll remember everything. But you and I should do a crop circle show, because here comes the spring, here comes the magic. And it was really cool at the end of the interview last night. Riz said, what is it that you learned in ufology that you're also learning that's attracting you to the ESS 60? And I said, I made 8 films, never knew how crop circles happen like everybody else on Earth. And then my final film, they invited me to the lab and I learned everything. And I told the truth that, Crop Circle Diaries, you guys got to see it. I told the truth about it, and that's when I started getting wounded. So I left the UFO field. I was one of the few that's still alive. But when I got into ESS 60, it was the same thing. I learned from 8 films and being in over 100 crop circles that I didn't win until I got invited to the lab of the real scientist. So with the C60 industry, industrial grade everywhere, Wuhan, China, probably most supplying them, all of a sudden, I'm working with the real lab. Like there's only one in the world that's been doing it 34 years. Look at him. He looks like a kid. He's been doing it 34 years. And he and Robert
Started at 12, right?
Exactly.
They actually made the machine that manufactures the product, because we can't find enough in nature. But it is a naturally occurring molecule, C60. So to work with the only lab in the world is kind of like winning those awards that are behind me for my films. I feel like I kind of reached the top of the UFO field. And then when they started peeling off the people and wounding me, it was like, yeah, I've had enough of that, and survived. But to be their partner is a real gift. And to be able to bring this to all the great influencers and be generous with you guys so that you stay on fire to get us through this chapter is, in my opinion, my favorite thing about doing this. Plus, me and my family are really staying well with it. We just don't get sick. Skin is great. Hair is long. We just keep sharing it with people. And that's my goal, right? Are you a real cowboy? Everybody calls you the cowboy. I'm like, I don't think he's a cowboy.
Well, what do you consider a real cowboy? Do you think, whether I can handle myself on a horse? Oh, you bet I can.
I mean, if there's a horse out back and you get up in the morning and go, yeah, and then go feed the cows. I don't know.
Well, I'd love that to be my morning, but now my morning is getting up and doing about 4, maybe 5 hours of show prep. We live in intense times, so I've sort of put that on a back burner a little bit. I am out on horseback, as much as I can be, but not as much as I would love to be. But yeah, no, it's not just an act. I feel like I should have been born with a hat on my head. Oh, I wasn't, but that's where I always landed, So no, it's not a costume. This would usually be the point in the show where I grab my other hat, the nicer hat, I should say, and we would do a beautiful giveaway because you make it Christmas all year round. But I gotta be honest, I'm surprised we can even record this show today. All of the technology strike this morning, nothing worked. The printer didn't work. Nothing didn't work. So I have to apologize, but we'll have to do it next time during our next show, the giveaway. But people have been so appreciative of the free bottles that you sent out to the winners. We receive beautiful emails. You receive beautiful emails. It's such a blessing. I mean, sometimes I have tears in my eyes just seeing those beautiful letters of people. How's it? You received some too, right?
I do, and I read everything, and I always write them back. And your two winners that I put on our Google Drive to get the orders sent to them, one of them is in Australia, the other one is in the UK. So I'm thinking, wow, you really reached, because they both mentioned you and the show with you and I, and that they were very moved. Yeah, people are really elaborative because they're part of your family. You incorporate so much love in your shows, and you always have your arms open in the beginning. They feel it, and they feel it all the way to the end. So for all of you, Chris and I, or at least I should speak for myself, he's the scientist. Okay, we're sending it all out. Yeah, all the love. And I have to be mindful not to speak for Chris because we are wonderfully different. But what a groundbreaking molecule to get me this excited about it. It saved my life. I have no doubt, because I don't do other supplements anymore, hardly at all. I do Evo, and if I ever get tired, which wait, I don't, so I don't even have to say that. But I take the morning coffee with this, and I go all day long. I do a tablespoon, and I do want to say that for people that don't like a spoonful of oil, we have these capsules that are incredibly strong and wonderful. And I know you said you're doing them now. Now, what benefits are you seeing? Because I want to encourage people that travel, do this instead of the oil, but you said it's prolonged even.
Yeah, well, I feel like the capsules are, so when I do the olive oil, which is the strongest one, when I do the olive oil, I feel like it comes very quickly now. You know, the sharp focus energy. With the capsules, it's like it's coming a little softer. If that makes sense, maybe it takes a few minutes longer and comes softer. So, but just the same in clarity and focus. I will say huge because I was recently invited. No, not really invited. My wife has been talking me into trying Pilates with her, and so don't get fooled by the girly stuff on the walls. These Pilates instructors are vicious. You know, they look like little girls, but good Lord, they put me through really a harsh workout. I'm not kidding you, and I do work out. So with the Evo, where I should have had some very sore muscles, I'm not kidding you, barely anything, which I was very surprised, you know, because if you do legs for an hour and they never let up, you should have sore muscles, and I didn't. So that's a big one. That's a really big one for people who run, work out, do anything. If you want to try without the sore muscles, you know, double your dose maybe. I do that in the morning when I know it's going to be a workout day. So that's been one of the big ones. And of course, this is like a constant testimonial is our almost 15-year-old golden retriever who the whole family is like, you know, they're like when we run out of it for a couple of days, everybody notices, right? Everybody notices in him. So this is just, and for him, it's twice a day. He sleeps well. He walks pretty well for his age, and everybody's happy that you know he's still around. So that's the thing that Chris said in the beginning. That's sort of the non-placebo. There is no placebo effect in a dog. We can really feel it, see it, taste it, touch it. So it's wonderful.
Well, don't ever run out, because your C60 EVO olive oil, couple of drops, is exactly what this is. The only difference is we add some natural bacon
Yeah,
flavor. And for you
and
men that want bacon flavor Evo, go for it. Just buy it for dogs and don't tell anyone. But yeah, a couple drops of this, take your dropper and put it in here. You don't ever have to run out on your dog. And if you just have capsules, break them open and put few drops because we want your dog to stay around and outlive the neighbors' dogs.
Well, thank you both so much for everything you do, for the great partnership here, for gifting, these bottles that you do in every show. We're going to do it next time. My apologies. So, Inspired Tribe, what I encourage you to do is leave a beautiful comment with whatever you want to share about your journey with the Evo, or whether you want to try it and haven't yet. Let us know in the comments, and you're going to be entered into the next giveaway. And then click on the c60evo.com/inspired channel. Links in the description. Look around, shop around, use the beautiful discounts and gifts that these wonderful folks give us. And, just let your intuition guide you. And I hope you're experiencing it sooner rather than later. Patty Greer, Chris Burres, thank you so much for joining us again today. Such an honor.
Thank you for having us, John.
Love
And
you
Inspired
guys.
and Inspired Tribe, we love you, we appreciate you, and we will be back with you again very, very soon.